Hello everyone. My research is about comparing slides and whiteboard in the classroom to see which one is more effective and engage students in their learning. A little bit inspiration of why I chose this topic. So when I was in elementary school, our school did not have any technologies like computers or projectors in our classroom. So the teachers always used the chalkboard. I was taught in this way until my grade 8. My middle school installed an interactive whiteboard. It is embedded in the chalkboard. The first time I saw this technology, I was attracted and engaged while my teachers were using it for a lecture. After I came to Maple Leaf, my high school, most of the teachers used the slides for their lecture. It became commonplace. I kind of lost my novelty, and sometimes I could not pay attention to those virtual slides. Based on my own experience, I can accept both teaching methods. It is hard to decide which one is more effective, so I choose to figure it out on my students. So the issue here for my research is that using slides for lectures are the first choice of teachers right now. Less and less teachers use the whiteboard for their lecture. Although technology has brought in convenience and is helpful for students' learning, sometimes students could not focus on those virtual slides. And there are also some benefits of whiteboard cannot be replaced by the slides. So the purpose of my research is that promote students' learning is what we should do as a teacher. We need to figure out which teaching method would be more effective in teaching as well as students' learning. There are some advantages and disadvantages of using whiteboard and slides. Teachers should consider when and how to use them based on the content for the best interest of students. So the question is that use which one will be more effective and engage students in learning, use slides or whiteboard. The first literature I found was written by Landry and Griffith and Hartman. They conduct a study in a university, and most of the students found out that Blackboard is ease of use and useful. So this gave me an idea of students' opinions on using the whiteboard in the classroom. And the second literature was written by Lavisher and Sawyer. So they focus on getting information for the benefits and the drawbacks of using slides in the classroom. So for example, they said that the interaction between the teacher and the students and learning outcomes would be reduced since students would focus on the slides more. So this is consistent with my findings. I will explain it later. The third literature I found was written by Shabel and Hastings. Using IT in the undergraduate classroom, should we replace the Blackboard with PowerPoint? After they did a few studies, they conclude that replace Blackboard by PowerPoint is not a good way, as it does not help students perform better academically. Teachers should use PowerPoint in addition to improve students' learning rather than replacing. Uh, After I did my research, I totally agree with this conclusion. And actually, I come to the same conclusion as this one. The methodology I used, I create two forms. The first one is using whiteboard only for lecture, and the other one is using slides only to record students' behaviors in class. I collect the data in my three courses: Physics 12, Science 10, and Career Life Education 10. I complete 4 forms in each course when I only use slides and whiteboard. I'm gonna show it in the next slide. And then I code my data, analyze my data, and then come to the findings. This is one of the form I created for using whiteboard only. I type down the class I taught, which is Science 10 for this one, and the date and the number of students present on that day. So I had a small class. There were only 6 students in my class, and usually 4 of them were present. And the grade, I had a brief summary of the content of the lesson. And then I wrote down the students' behaviors based on what I saw when I used the whiteboard for lecture only, such as taking notes, asking questions, answering questions. And then at the end of the day, I wrote a reflection of using this teaching method. This is an example of coding data for whiteboard only. So I have these categories: setting, student action, teacher self-evaluation, and student response. And the next one, this is an example for use slides only. I got the same categories. For the data analysis part, the first theme is concentration, and I divided it into the following finding: content delivery, critical thinking, interaction, and student behaviors. I'm not gonna go through all of this, but let's go through a simple one. Students ask more questions than using slides, and those questions are more critical. So after analyzing this reflection, I found that students can focus on my explanation when I use the whiteboard for lecture, because slides provide information that students can read, and they ask less questions if they figure it out by themselves. And when they do not have information provided, it stimulates them to think critically. And the next theme is efficiency. The findings are note-taking, acquiring, time concern, connection, and participation. So I'm not gonna go through this. I only got 2 minutes left. The last theme is visualization. And the findings are color, resources, and precision. So basically, using slides are better for visualization. So findings: use whiteboard for lecture are better for guiding students. Students would like to ask more critical questions, and they like to answer more questions compared to use slides for lecture. And in both teaching methods, students will somehow lose attention in class. So next one, whiteboard teaching method is effective for students taking notes, and it is important to ask student questions during lecture for both teaching methods. And use slides is time effective in class, save lots of time in writing. And use whiteboard can make connection easily between key points. And it is necessary to incorporate activities within lessons for both teaching methods. So next, basically, using slides is better for visualization, and also it shows helpful resources to students in class. I agree with these authors' findings. Whiteboard is useful and ease of use. So we just need to write down key information on the whiteboard without showing too much information on slides. I also agree with these findings. For example, visualization is a big factor of using slides. It helps students learning. Based on my observation during the practical, when I put some diagrams on slides, students would understand the content better. And the last one, after I compare the effectiveness of using whiteboard and the slides in class, I agree with these authors that slides should not replace whiteboard, as there are some advantages that slides cannot replace. Then a quick conclusion. It is hard to determine which one is effective and engage students in learning, as they all have advantages and disadvantages. So after this research, I think use both together in the class based on their functions to enhance students' learning would be better. For example, we could use slides for lecture and visualization, and whiteboard for explanation. Choose the right one to improve teaching and students' learning. So that's it about my presentation. Thank you.